many Spider-Mans is too many Spider-Mans?
There's never too many Spider-Mans, Keith.
We'll talk about it coming up.
I don't believe it. Go to your corner.
Aww. Spider-Man. Classic character created way back in the 60s.
Stan Lee, Steve Ditko.
Yeah, I didn't read Spider-Man #1. I was probably a little bit too young.
I did.
Well, I'm saying when it first came out. It wasn't Spider-Man #1 anyways. It was Amazing Fantasy 15, I believe.
Yeah, something along those lines.
So, I mean, I have read it. I know the story well.
Everyone knows the story at this point.
I think I actually had a subscription to Fantastic Four. Defenders. Maybe Spider-Man. I'm not sure.
What are you saying?
I used to subscribe to comic books.
Oh.
The problem is, when they mail you your comic books, they like fold it in half. I didn't like that.
No. That
anyways.
sounds very... Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, but getting back on topic.
Spider-Man. Into the Spiderverse.
Quality movie. I would say...
Movie, well done.
Possibly the best superhero movie of 2018. Possibly. It's right up there.
Well, having seen it in 2019, I will say it is the best movie I've seen this year.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
And the best superhero movie I've seen this year? Will it be better than Captain Marvel? I actually think it will be. But
yeah. But will it
be better than Endgame?
That's what I was saying.
I don't know. The animation, there was a couple things I really didn't, I'm not going to say I didn't dislike about the animation, but they talk about it in a featurette. It's a technique they have. If you look at old comic books, you'll see when they like put flesh color on somebody, they do it with dots. And that's actually to save ink, reduce cost. But they kind of redid that effect in the movie. And it seemed to me that when they did it, it kind of looked like a 3D effect without the glasses. Okay? I don't know.
I didn't have any negative experiences with that at all, but...
If you don't know, we're going to try and limit spoilers here, I think. But...
Are we? Because I had
back in the 60s, you had said something?
Well, I was going to say I had something to say.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Spider-Man started back in the 60s, Peter Parker. Were all the Spider-Men in this movie Peter Parker? No. And this is how you actually change a character. I don't want to get political.
Go into a different universe.
Well, no, I don't want to get political and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's this real drive these days to like say, well, Peter Parker or Superman should be black. The Rock should play Superman. They've actually said that, and I think The Rock is cool. I love The Rock.
He's a big boy.
He's a big guy. But do I see him as Superman? No, because Superman's always been this. Peter Parker has always been a certain way. And in this movie, there are three Peter Parkers?
There...
The one from the universe with Miles?
There's 3, but there's a Peter Porker.
There's a Peter Porker.
Penny Parker.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying here. There's like 3 Peter Parkers. They're all different. One of them is like black and white.
That's voiced by Nicolas Cage.
Who has an obsession with a Rubik's Cube. There is the Peter Parker from Miles Morales, who is the new Spider-Man in this universe, because the current Spider-Man, Peter Parker, gets killed.
Chris Pine voiced
him. He did an excellent job.
Yes.
For some reason, and the whole premise here, I guess this is going to be our big major spoiler, is they talk about the Spiderverse. Mm-hmm. Kingpin, who is the main villain, is trying to open a dimensional portal. He has his reasons for doing this. We won't go into those. But Spider-Man, who is fighting the Green Goblin ends up getting his face shoved into the breach in the universe, and we don't know it at that particular point in time, but that draws in several Spider-Men from alternate universes. And that's how we get all these Spider-Men.
I really did not put two and two together at all. I didn't realize that that's like, I'm smart.
Yeah, so... But Miles Morales had technically started to become Spider-Man prior to this all happening.
But that's the thing. The spider that came and bit him had the same weird, like, spazzing out things that the people from the other dimensions had too.
See, I didn't notice that.
Okay, I did. So what I'm thinking is that it actually came through the portal as well.
It's possible because one of the Spider-Men, actually not a Spider-Man, but in fact Spider-Gwen, had been there for a week. Not only had she been pulled from another dimension, but she'd actually been pulled through time. So she'd been there for a little while. And it's possible that that spider had been there for a little while. It's interesting because you see the spider through this whole little vignette where Miles and his uncle are off having fun. And it's just the spider walks all over Miles. And for a long time, falls off, gets knocked off. Then eventually bites Peter, or not Peter, bites Miles. And Miles goes, I'm going to spoil this, slaps it, and knocks it on the ground. And that's it. But if you look at, and it's interesting, this is not, if you know anything about the Marvel multiverse, they have different Earths, 616.
1610, I think, is the Ultimate Universe.
Which I think is the Ultimate Universe is Miles Morales.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in this movie. They showed Brian Bendis' name in there. I think it was B. Bendis. I don't remember where that was, but I remember seeing that. They showed, I think, like artwork of Superman and Batman in there.
Only the boots.
Only the boots of Superman, but a stylized version of Batman was in there as well.
So, the Miles classic Spider-Man gets bit by a spider. Now, my takeaway from this movie is, was this movie saying that there always has to be a Spider-Man?
I think it was.
Because as we say, the Peter Parker in his dimension, and he sees it happen. He's actually there when Spider-Man gets killed by Kingpin. Spoiler. So,
but it happens at the very beginning of the movie. I might say a spoiler that this is my only complaint with the movie. And it's not even really a complaint. It's not a bad thing, per se. Miles' uncle is the Prowler, the main villain. Well, not the main villain, but one of the villains. And that was very predictable. Basically, right after you saw him start chasing him, I basically already figured out that it was his uncle.
Well,
kinda...
okay, but saying that, if any of you have seen Spider-Man Homecoming, Miles Morales' uncle, the Prowler, played by
Childish Gambino, Donald Glover.
Donald Glover. Who?
Childish Gambino. That's his rapping name.
Oh, Childish Gambino?
Yeah.
I was gonna say that it's played by Lando Calrissian, but...
Oh, yes, Lando Calrissian.
I was gonna go that way with it. I didn't know the other thing. But he is in there, and he actually makes a reference to his nephew living in the area. So
he had ice cream in the trunk. It was going to melt.
And it's going to melt.
He stuck his hand on it.
Oh, you're a bad guy.
You deserve it.
So
that's a good movie, too.
That's a good movie. A lot of Spider-Man movies are pretty good. So the whole movie is basically... I mean, if you remember Spider-Man, the original story, Peter Parker gets bit, and he's trying to figure out what he's supposed to do with all this, and he ends up wrestling in the ring to make money, and the wrestling promoter stiffs him, doesn't give him all the money he's supposed to give him, and then the guy gets robbed, and Spider-Man kind of like steps out of the way and lets the robber go, and that same guy ends up killing Uncle Ben. So the whole first issue of Spider-Man is Spider-Man becoming Spider-Man. And that's kind of what this is. Miles Morales becoming Spider-Man. So
there's one thing that I'm going to say. Every version of Spider-Man was Peter Parker, 3 Peter Parkers, Peter Porker, Penny Parker, and then Gwen Stacy.
Who became Spider-Girl, Spider-Woman.
I think it was Spider-Woman?
I think, yeah. She says. But
not Spider-Man, I don't think.
But the reason she went on to fight crime is because
Peter Parker died. Her best friend.
Peter Parker, died. And I think Peter Parker in that universe actually was also the Lizard, so it seemed to me that she was fighting and either turned from the Lizard into Peter Parker.
Well, I think the Lizard infected him and something. Remember that the Lizard that's what his goal was in the Amazing Spider-Man?
The Lizard was infected.
Yeah, but he was trying to infect other people. You remember in the Amazing Spider-Man?
I remember Spider-Man. I remember the Lizard.
No, I'm saying in the...
And he was a college professor. He had one arm. He was trying to grow another arm.
Yeah, I was saying in the one with Andrew Garfield. That was what his whole goal was, to infect people. And she actually talked about...
It wasn't the...
Turn them into lizards.
It wasn't the guys.
No, but the Lizard's goal.
Yeah, the Lizard.
And he... I think she actually talked about that the Lizard was Kurt Connors or something.
Oh, could have been.
But, so I think he infected Peter Parker or something.
It all involved Peter Parker.
Involved Peter Parker, yes.
See, and the whole thing was here is, the advantage Miles has, if you want to call it an advantage, is that he had, he had 5 Spider-Men to help him to become Spider-Man, at least show him the ropes. And they all show him different things, like Peter Parker has this animated hammer that he pulls out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And smacks.
Miles Morales definitely seems like the strongest of all the Spider-Man.
He does. He has some abilities. He has some abilities that the regular Spider-Man... Well, it seems like each Spider-Person has some kind of unique abilities.
Kind of.
It's like Spider-Man Noir was not only black and white, but there was always a wind.
There was always a
great
secret ability.
So it was a trench coat, I guess. Was blowing.
Spider-Man doesn't have a cape.
Spider-Man does not have a cape.
It's disrespectful. But that's the thing. Not all of them really did have that much powers. It was there was the 3 Peter Parkers, which didn't really have too much in the way of powers. The Gwen Stacy, who was just regular Spider-Man. And then Penny Parker was actually interesting.
Penny Parker was... I don't know. I never really understood if she had actually any powers, or if the powers was just her psychic link to the spider that was inside the big mechanical thing.
Yeah, that was odd.
Because Penny Parker's kind of an anime character.
Yeah, it was.
And Peter Porker... Peter Porker was kind of like a... Looney Tunes. Kind of like actually a Howard the Duck version of Spider-Man,
But he says that's all, folks.
He does. Can he say that legally?
I don't think so. Did you hear that beep?
I didn't hear a beep.
I heard a beep.
I see a red light, so it's still going.
That was weird.
So it was well acted. They had a lot of good actors in this. Obviously, Miles did extremely well.
Oh, yeah. He was awesome.
It had Chris Pine as a Spider-Man. It had... Nick Cage as a Spider-Man. It had Haley Steinfeld as Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
Second movie I've seen with her in a couple of weeks.
And the second movie in the row that we're reviewing of her. Yeah. We can only review her movies.
I think what we're doing is Haley Steinfeld reviews.
Yeah. That's going to be our series.
She was really good.
That's a lot of things.
Haley Steinfeld was really good. So, the voice acting was good. He had his main teacher, as it were, was Spider-Man. I'm not sure what universe it was, but
I don't know.
Instead of
like
only
Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Instead of only having been Spider-Man for 10 years, he had actually been Spider-Man for 26 years, I think, is what he said.
A lot of years.
A lot of years. He was like down on his luck,
Him
a little
and MJ
overweight,
had a
just like
divorce.
me. You know, he broke up with MJ, and I think that like totally devastated him. And everybody commented on the fact that he was a little overweight and he was wearing sweatpants all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weird. Maybe it's an effect of being Spider-Man, but he looked like super ripped everywhere else besides his belly.
And
Where it just
like,
sort of...
So that was well done. The animation was exceptional. Like I say, there was a little thing that bugged me about it, but it just freaked me out. My eyes got freaked out. It wasn't me getting freaked out. I was like yelling and screaming and running around the theater or anything. But it freaked, my eyes. I wasn't.
I was there.
I did have, we were there early enough. Okay, we had all gone out to eat at Famous Dave's prior.
Oh, yep.
And we left Famous Dave's a little bit the movie started at 20 after. We left the Famous Dave's at like 5 after, and I ended up taking the long way.
Yeah,
the longest way I possibly could.
I don't even understand.
We were like
how
5 minutes from the theater. All I had to do was get up the highway.
Like 10 minutes at least.
It took like 10 minutes because instead of getting back on the highway, I just stayed on the frontage road, and then I realized the front. Anyways,
it was.
We got there. We bought our tickets because we didn't buy them ahead of time on account of the movie been out for a while. And when I checked earlier in the day, nobody had bought any tickets yet. So that's kind of my indication. It was in the smaller theater because it's been out for a while. But, we got in there. We got good seats, chose our seats. And I was able to get a large buttered popcorn. And we did not get cherry ices. We got raspberry ices because
the cherry machine was broke.
No, what happens is, if you go to these theaters, the icy machines, if they have the steel nozzles or metal nozzles,
they freeze.
Okay, and the lady who served me when I went to see Bumblebee, she knew the trick, and the guy when we left knew the trick. But you gotta like pour hot water on the nozzle to get the thing to work again.
And then you like kind of hit it in spurts kind of too.
So we had raspberry on our way in, and we got cherry on our way out because free refills on large.
Cherry is quite a bit better, I would say.
And I finished my cherry, and he didn't finish his cherry.
Well, you might have drank my cherry.
I might have drank his cherry.
It was a 50-50 chance, and he grabbed one, and it was like very possible that it was mine. But
when I came in, I would. Anyways, good movie. Go see it. Spider-Man in the Spiderverse. It's a coming-of-age story. He's got to make the decision. And
actually, just like Bumblebee, our last one we reviewed, that was a coming-of-age one too.
If basically all the Spider-Men told him that when it's time to be Spider-Man, you'll know it.
Take your leap of faith.
Leap of faith. So that was it. Fortunately, everybody got back to their own universe, so that was a spoiler. I'm going to cut that.
Okay. Cut.
So, because they were going to... basically, they were going to... told Miles, because he wasn't ready, he couldn't... He had some special abilities, but he couldn't... Control them, and he couldn't bring them on command, so... They didn't think he was ready. So... And then he had to decide whether or not he was. So, there you go. It's a good movie.
It is a
fantastic movie. Well acted, well voice acted.
It's amazing.
The animation is really good.
It's amazing. The Amazing Spider-Man is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't understand. There was a lot of instances of 42. The number 42.
Yes, the number 42 showed up a lot.
Don't know what it was referencing. I'm sure it was like maybe issue 42. Maybe that's when Miles Morales appeared. Or maybe the universe they were in was like number 42. But no, because they're in the Ultimate Universe, which I think is 1610. So
it was not 42. I saw something, I think, that made a reference to the fact that they kept showing 42. I don't remember why they said it was.
Yeah, I don't either.
If you know, please leave it in the comments.
Yeah, that would be great, because we're...
So it's a good movie. I think we've done this with limited spoilers.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
I kind of spoiled something, maybe. But it wasn't. People figured it out like right away what I spoiled. So
Yeah. Well, if you know the comics, you already know the answer. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I didn't know the comics. I knew the comics, but I didn't know the comics. I kind of forgot. Yeah.
But in Homecoming, he was in there. Miles Morales' uncle.
He was in the Prowler in Homecoming.
Yeah, well, he was buying a gun.
Was he? He was buying ice cream.
No, well, he had bought ice cream. So, all right.
All right.
Well, leave us a comment if you know what the significance of 42 was.
We know it's the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah.
But besides that, because I don't think that's what that's referencing.
Okay, so if you like this, give us a thumbs up. You can subscribe if you want. If you
Please
don't
comment
want to,
down below.
Please comment. Let us know if you know what 42 meant.
That'd be good.
And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Oh, you don't have any water left.
Yeah, I did. I had a drop.
Bye.
Bye.